Good evening to one and all present here. This is Rupsha Ahmed, Executive Member at Legal Vidya, and I am delighted to welcome you all to the first day of our 3-day workshop on cyber law and cyber crimes organized by Legal Vidya. About Legal Vidya, established in 2021, Legal Vidya is a pioneering online edtech platform committed to nurturing legal education. Our platform offers diverse learning opportunities through internships, webinars, workshops, and courses, catering to aspiring students and professionals alike. We also provide a space for individuals to publish their articles and share legal insights, fostering a vibrant community of research, discussion, and growth. About the workshop, Legal Vidya proudly presents a specialized 3-day workshop on cyber law and cyber crimes, curated for law students, interns, and professionals eager to understand the rapidly evolving legal dimensions of the digital world. This workshop aims to provide a comprehensive understanding of India's cyber law framework, the type of cybercrimes prevalent today, and the balance between data protection, privacy, and cybersecurity in the modern era. Participants will explore key statutory provisions, landmark judgments, and real world investigative processes that define the future of digital governance and enforcement. About the speaker, we are honored to have with us Advocate Govind Bali, a practicing advocate based in New Delhi and the managing partner at Fast Track Legal Solutions LLP. Mr. Bali specializes in civil, criminal, corporate, and regulatory litigation with extensive experience before the Armed Forces Tribunal, High Courts, NCLT, and RERA authorities across India. He is also the founder of LetStartup.in, a platform that supports startups with compliance, dispute resolution, and legal tech innovation. The recording of today's session will be shared shortly with all registered participants. I encourage everyone to engage actively, take notes, and make the most of this learning experience. Now, without further ado, I invite Advocate Govind Bali sir to kindly take over the session and guide us to today's topic.
Hi and good evening, everyone. I'm Advocate Govind Bali. So, before we begin, I would request you all if you've got any questions, we will take them at the end of the session. I have basically divided the session into two, three parts, and we will be dealing with them one by one diligently. And we are going to be here for 3 days, so I do not want to make the session too boring. So, we'll be trying to keep it light so that we are able to learn as we go forward. So basically, what is cyber law is a big question. Somebody says cyber law is all about hacking. Somebody says cyber law is all about what is going to happen when you open the internet. Cyber law is all about what is going to happen to your computer. But the question here is not that. Every click you make, every login you take, and someone somewhere is watching you. And that's exactly why cyber law exists in this country. Not even in this country, but cyber law is apparently very new to the world at large because primarily we were not having any kind of cyber regulatories in the world. It was 1990s when India started having computers at large in offices. I still remember when my father first bought a computer in 2020, 2001. It was a big machine with just 5 MB of RAM. So tonight we're gonna peel back the layers of digital world, the ones we scroll through without realizing how deeply it is governed by law. Now there are going to be three key talking points which I'm going to talk about is that cyber law is not just about hacking. India is one of the fastest digitalizing economies. That is why cyber laws have a big place. And the line between privacy and surveillance or expression and defamation is now drawn in code as much as in law. So basically, when we start, basically, what is a cyber law? How is cyber law taking place? And why is cyber law not just about hacking? Basically, cyber law governs everything that is digital in nature, from your digital signatures to digital contracts to emails, social media, and even AI generated content is governed by cyber laws. Now, India is one of the fastest digital economies, digitizing economies from digital India to make in India. We are trying to make more and more digital ways to govern the Indian ecosystem, whether it is about the money laundering cases increasing or it is about the fraudulent UPI transactions taking place. It is all covered by the very digital world that we are living in, which is also covered by the very system of digital economy and cyber laws. Now, Basically, when we talk about surveillance and privacy, there has to be a very thin line. There was a new law coming in this country wherein it was said that all data that is being stored online has to be monitored by the government, and government has right to monitor any chats, conversations, or even transactions that take place. Would that be surveillance or a violation of privacy? Why is privacy important? We all know the Constitution has enriched us with the very right to life, and the right to live with dignity falls within the purview of right to live in a private space with privacy. Now, basically, cyber law refers to the legal principles governing the use of computers, the internet, and digital communication networks. Now, when I define cyber law, I am not restricting myself to it because in coming days, when we would be having robots teaching us or AI taking over the classroom, cyber law would exist there also. That is why when I say cyber law refers to the legal principles governing the use of computers, the internet, and digital communication networks, I am not limiting myself to them. I am keeping that definition bit open. Now, there could be civil aspects of cyber laws. There could be criminal aspects of cyber laws. There could be uh, the regulatory aspects of cyber laws. Now, when we talk about the civil aspects, what could be the civil aspects? The civil aspects are the online transactions that take place, the intellectual property right that we keep on sharing on internet, the videos of people dancing on Instagram, or the videos of people talking to each other which go on Instagram. All are our intellectual property rights. But what if these properties are being used by somebody else? What if these properties are being violated? Now that becomes a civil dispute with some criminal intent to it. Now, criminal aspect of it could be hacking, it could be identity theft, it could be cyber stalking, siphoning, or for that matter, even digital rape. Now, does any one of you know what is digital rape? If anybody of you knows what is digital rape, they can raise their hand. Yes, please. Whoever has raised their hand can answer. Please answer. Answer what is digital rape. Tell me about it.
अकॉर्डिंग टू मी डिजिटल रेप इज अ काइंड ऑफ एमएमएस कि आप ऑनलाइन किसी का फेक वीडियो बना के वायरल कर रहे हो. इट इज काइंड ऑफ दैट.
Okay. So basically, that's not the very correct answer to it. That is basically identity theft. Also, it is called cyber bullying. Also, it could be known as cyber ciphering. Also, but digital rape basically means when somebody tries to forcefully have sex with you over the internet. Now, physically nothing is happening, but digitally everything is happening, and somebody is coercing you to do something because he's got your pictures, he's got your videos, or maybe he's got something else to blackmail you. That is what digital rape is about. There was a judgment about digital rape some time back. I'm not remembering the name. But tomorrow, when we come back to the class, I would want you guys to actually go through it and find me that judgment, what the judgment is about. Now, when we talk about e-contracts, now basically it has become very easy for us of how to do things, how to sign contracts. अब हर कोई चिट्ठियां बेच के कागज साइन नहीं करा रहा है. Nowadays, signatures are happening online. You go on the PDF app and you just sign it and send it back, and it becomes into an enforceable contract. There is something known as the DSC, the digital signatures tokens. It is a pen drive by which you sign. So basically, when we talk about these things, what we are talking about at large is that how the legal space is working at large and how cyberspace is dealing with the very aspects of law in our lives. Now, when we talk about the part of hacking, identity theft, cyber stalking, what are these? Cyber stalking means when we basically get into somebody's account and we keep on stalking that person. We see where that person is posting, where is that person going. We are messaging them unnecessarily, sending them very vulgar pictures which they are not asking for. We are trying to get into and peek into the DMs of every second person that we know without any reason. That comes in the idea of cyber stalking. What is identity theft? For example, someone of you all of a sudden makes an account by the name of Advocate Govind Bali with my picture on it, and you impersonate me. When you impersonate me, after impersonating me, you start asking money from people. You say, यार मैंने बहुत दिन से तेरे से बात नहीं करी थी, but I'm in an emergency, so I need some money. Can you transfer some amount to me? Now, what has happened in this transaction is that there are two individuals who have basically taken away my identity and are presuming and making the world believe that they are me. That is Govind Bali, and they're trying to gain some financial favors from it. And thank you, Shivani. You have given the answer in the chat box. We'll discuss it at the end. Now, further, when we talk about regulatory aspects, there is something known as DPDP Act. Data Protection Act, which has come into place, says that nobody's data can be kept into a company's with a company without the permission of the owner of that data till the time that person does not allow them to or does not give an undertaking that they can use his or her data. Now, for example, I'm coming back to hacking. If somebody hacks your Instagram account, that's a cyber crime. But if somebody posts defamatory content on it, congratulations, now you are the cyber offender. So the contention is whoever the owner of the account is, he's the one who's going to be caught for the liability. But later on, you would be proving that how the basic fundamentals of digital crime are going to take place, how the basics of digital criminal mentality are going to go forward, and how the cyber offender is going to prove that he has not done a particular offense. There are a lot of things that which have come into place now. There is something known as a hash value. There is something known as the EMI number. There is something known as the gadget being used. There is something known as the IP address. These are those technical terms which we will be dealing with tomorrow, not today. Now, going forward, why is cyber law getting important day by day? Can any one of you tell me? Please raise your hands. The question is very simple. Why is cyber law getting important day by day? Yes, please.
So, more or less, these days, most of the activities, whether it's professional or personal, is taking place through internet, right? And there are maximum chance of having purging of data, like you said, like for example, the digital signature which you're using. What if that digital signature tool store your signature and use maybe misuse that information? So having that boundary and creating that particular boundary might restrict and may put the organization to that particular compliance. That is what my thought is.
Okay. That is a good answer. Who's next, please?
It is because of more cyber attacks happening everywhere.
Okay. Okay. Who's next? Shri, you've raised your hand. I see
Sir,
enough.
because
Hmm. Yeah,
because
yeah.
day by day we are digitizing our society and we are more digitalized. So this is the reason the crime is more important nowadays.
So basically, to sum up what all of you have said is first is there is a growth of digital economy in the country and in the fintech world. When I talk about fintech, fintech is about the financial technology world, which is basically trying to eat us all up by saying that you do not need any documents and you would get a loan. And then the same companies are running behind us for recovering the same money before the actual due date. There is a lot of rise in the digital evidence that can be used in the court of law. Earlier, nobody was actually using. Actually, nobody was using WhatsApp or phone numbers in such an extent that you could have actually presented that in the court of law. And With the globalized world coming into place, with India doing most of the BPO and LPO work for countries like USA, UK, and for that matter, even Germany, there is a lot of need between the individuals to come up with an economical system which is cyber secure and is related to the world. So basically, the answers that all of you gave are completely correct. And that is why I summed them into three basic points so that you can remember that. Now, going forward, the Information Technology Act 2000, which was later on amended in 2008, basically, why was it enacted? What was the reason for it to come into place? So basically, it was enacted to give recognition to e-commerce and e-governance. Now, what is e-commerce and what is e-governance? Basically, e-commerce means anything which is related to the commercial side of the business, which is digitally available, is known as e-commerce. For example, Zepto is e-commerce. Though they might name it as a fast delivery food chain, restaurant, or something else, or they might call it food delivery system, but in the end, all of that goes online. Any fraud and transaction that takes place there is happening because of the e-governance and the e-commerce that takes place. Now, when we talk about e-governance basically means you could not have actually linked your PAN card to Aadhaar card 30 years down the line because there was no Aadhaar card existing. One. Second is there was no technology to link them digitally. I still remember my grandfather's pension used to come at the post office and he did not get it in his account. So he had to physically go to that particular place, tell them that my pension must have been credited and I want to withdraw it. So that whole procedure changes the whole matrix by which we look at it. And another reason for the Information Technology Act 2008, which is the amended version to come in, was to penalize cyber crimes. Now, basically, there are some key provisions that we need to know about. I'm not going to go by the definitions which are there in the Act because any of you who would Google Information Technology Act 2008 or 2000, you would get the definition part of it and you can just read it and they are self explanatory. But what needs to be understood is that what is legal recognition? What does Section 4 actually talk about? The Section 4 of the Act basically talks about electronic records. When we talk about electronic records and signatures have the same validity as paper documents. Section 4 is basically saying that anything digital which has been digitally signed and electronically signed has got the same validity as something which has been done by hand. Now, the difficulty that comes in is how do we identify as to who has signed the thing digitally? Who is the actual owner or the writer or the originator of that signature? What we need to understand is that the very part that we are talking about is that electronic records have legal validity, which is similar to papers and documents. But how would we recognize them? Can anybody tell me how can that be recognized? I'll rephrase my question. My question is, for example, I digitally sign a document. How would that be proof that it has been signed by me? Please don't be shy. It's a small class of 31 people. You can answer freely. Okay, so there are no answers to it. So basically, the answer is very simple. I would be going by the hash value. I would be going by the IP address. I would be going by the device that has been used and whether that device was authenticated on my name and issued on my name to be used as a digital signature. Now, Section 5 of the same act says that digital signatures are recognized. Now, further, when we go down to the scheme of the Act, Section 65 to Section 74 state that penal provisions for cyber crimes have been laid down in Section 65 to 74 of the Act, and the 2008 amendment added a section on data protection and privacy and cyber terrorism. Can anybody of you tell me what is cyber terrorism? Anybody?
Hacking of the crucial elements, banking system.
Okay. How else can you define it? Shivani, you can just unmute yourself and say it out.
Yes, sir. As we saw in the Pegasus case, sir, there
Mm-hmm.
was cyber terrorism where there was use of internet and computer networks to create the physical harm uh, regarding the network systems and the various softwares of political bodies, persons of influence, sir, like big
Okay.
politicians, lawyers, doctors, and all.
Okay. That could be one. Another thing is basically the word that has it has come out with is the word terrorism. Now, when we talk about terrorism, terrorism is something which is to terrorize someone, somebody who's going to be taken up by somebody else, somebody's rights are being violated, some offense is being created. Now, basically, when the idea of cyber comes in, it basically means something that is being done digitally. Now, when something is done digitally, like Shivani rightly said, the Pegasus attack, second is when somebody tries to take away our rights, liberties, and which in turn ends up into a crime. For example, another person said that hacking of bank accounts. Another example is, for example, somebody comes up and hacks the website of Jamia Millia Islamia and write some very defamatory and offensive words there. There was another offense in which one of the hackers basically hacked all the display boards in in an airport and started playing porn videos there. So these things are basically going against the very principle nature by which the mankind lives, the nature by which we are basically trying to justify that there is law and order in this society. Now, basically, another question is basically, is there any kind of theft there? Well, I would like to sum it up in a very different way. Cyber terrorism is theft, but in place of stealing somebody's physical wallet, you are actually stealing somebody's Paytm account. That is cyber theft because the intention, the very concept of mens rea remains there. Your idea was to have some unlawful gain, and that unlawful gain was not physical in nature but digital in nature. You basically got access to somebody's digital accounts through which you were making money again and again. And that particular account itself turned into a way of modernizing the way in which theft takes place. It no more takes place in the railway stations or in the bus stands wherein some pickpocket comes and takes your wallet away. It can happen sitting here. Somebody would call you saying, Sir, आपके पास एक offer आया है in which you're gonna win 50 lakh rupees. You just have to give me an OTP, and you realize the only 50 rupees in your account are gone. So basically, in place of gaining 50 lakhs, you lost the very 50 that you had with you. Now, going forward, uh, there is a question. Okay. We'll take this question after some time. This is a very interesting question. We will take it, Manjiri. So basically, cyber law is to the internet what the constitution is to democracy. Invincible, but indispensable. So basically, many people say, what is going to happen if there is no internet? Basically, if there is no internet, we will still have cyber law because computers would exist, the Wi-Fi's would exist, the Bluetooths will exist. How many of you know that that when we talk about Bluetooths can actually be used to hack somebody's account. Do you know there's a device called as Click? When we use that device called Click, it's a orange color device. You can hack into multiple people's Wi-Fi networks at once, and you can basically disable their whole Wi-Fi network. Now, when we talk about hacking, which is section 66, what is hacking? Hacking is not just taking away somebody's data, it is also locking somebody out of that data. Sometimes old people come up and say somebody has hacked my Facebook because I cannot get into it, though they've generally just forgotten the password. So hacking basically means I own a company, for example, Fast Track Legal Solutions website. Somebody does a cyber attack on it and they take away all the personal data of my clients. Now that is cyber theft for which even I will be charged because I was not able to keep the data of my clients safe. But that particular person who invaded into that website has actually hacked everything. Now, basically, another thing is why do we need regulatory frameworks in cyber law? Basically, licensing and supervision of cyber of certifying authorities is very important. Basically, certifying authorities is all the DSCs or the digital signatures that we make are not made by the government at large. They are made in general. But when they are made in general, after that, what happens is they are basically given to somebody else to justify them and then come into a provision wherein we come on to a situation wherein somebody is verifying them. Second is these laws are also very important because there is a liability for the intermediary also. Intermediary is the person who's saving the data. For example, most of you must be using Instagram, but none of us actually knows that Instagram has got partial copyrights over our pictures and audios that we use. Though there is a copyright infringement whenever you put a Bollywood song therein, but the CMS system basically gives them rights to post those pictures if they want to use them. Because whenever we read those terms and conditions, we do not go through them completely. Now, further, basically, there are cybersecurity obligations for companies, also specifically for banks. How bad would it be that your ATM password, which had to be secured by the bank, is known to the world at large? It is somewhere on dark web. And when it is on the dark web, somebody is buying that particular account of yours. It has got, say, 1 crore rupees for $10, $15. So these things are happening on the dark web. Many nasty things are happening, which even if we try to talk about them, are not very correct because they are very astonishingly dark to actually know. That is why it is for the very matter called the dark web. Now, why do we need the very idea to have cyber laws is first is we need to safeguard and protect our digital rights. What are digital rights? Digital rights means that when I'm posting something, it belongs to me and nobody else is going to take them. My pictures are not going to go on the internet without my permission. There has to, and to provide a legal recognition to the electronic documents and the digital signatures and to encourage e-commerce and e-governance and to align with the international framework. We have already spoken about these. Now, when we talk about the recognition of e-transactions, so basically, there was a United Nations convention on it. It was called Ancestral Model Law on Electronic Commerce. When we go into international law, it is very deep and there are a lot of theories to go into. I'm not going to go into it, but those of you who are very eager to read about it, you can go on the Ancestral Model Laws on Electronic Commerce 1996. Now, basically, why was the act amended in 2008? Can anybody tell me why was the Information Technology Act amended in the year 2008?
Sir, is it because the parliament saw a need to adapt to the current realities of cyber crimes?
That is one of the reasons. Another reason is that there were a lot of mobile based technologies that had come in. There were a lot of social media and mobile based technologies which came into place. We were seeing people posting in number of things from brushing of their teeth to flying to a nation, from the clothes they're going to buy and the way they change their clothes on internet. So basically to safeguard people, it was very important that these laws came into place. Now basically what are the objectives of these laws? These laws basically objectify four basic things. First, legal recognition of electronic records. We have repeatedly talked about it now. Establishment of controller of certifying authorities, that is CCA. Definition of cyber offenses and penalties, and formation of educatory bodies. and cyber appellant tribunals. Do you know there is a cyber appellant tribunal in this country? Most of you must have not heard about it, but there is a cyber appellant tribunal in this country. Now, the salient features of the 2008 Amendment Act were Section 4, that is the legal recognition of electronic records. We have already spoken about it. The Section 5 talks about legal recognition of digital signatures. Section 43A talks about compensation for failure to protect data. Now, this particular Section 43A is also coming in a very vast way in the DPDP Act, that is the Data Protection Act. Then Section 65 to 74 defines cyber offenses as penalties. And, Section 66F introduces cyber terrorism. Before the year 2000, if you signed a contract over email, it had no legal standing. But when the Post IT Act came, your Gmail has the same authority as a pen or paper, because now the emails that you have sent across each other can also be used in recovery suits or in commercial transaction suits to recover a particular amount from an individual, because now that particular email has the same value as that of something written on paper. Now, basically, the 2008 amendment highlighted certain things. These highlights were basically talking about, they basically talked about recognize the digital signatures. They talked about Section 68. They also talked about, they added some provisions. They added the provision privacy. They added the provision data protection, and they added the word cyber terrorism. And they also enhance the roles of intermediaries like Meta, ISPs. What is ISP? ISP is the internet service providers. It could be Airtel, it could be Vodafone for that matter, Motorbikes, Geo also. Now, basically, when we go forward, what I'm going to talk about is the terms that have been used in this. So basically, data has been defined under the 2008 Act in Section 2, subclause 1O. It says representation of information, knowledge, concept, or instructions in a form suitable for computer processing. Example, your photos, chats, bank records is equal to data. Computer has been defined into Section 2, subclause 1, subclause I. It says that any electronic device performing logical, arithmetic, and memory functions. It could be your ATM, it could be your smartwatch, it could be your laptop, it could be your iPad, or even your phone. Now, computer networks have again been defined in Section 2(1)J. Two or more computers interconnected by communication links. Now, basically, the term to know here is that a computer network is not just a computer. It could be anything which is connected by data. Data means the internet that I'm talking about, the data that is on our phones. So that makes even our mobile phones into computers because they're connected by a network. Now, that particular computer network is the LAN, is the 5G internet that we are getting, it is the Wi Fi that we are using. Computer system has also been defined in subsection 2(1)(I). It says device or set of devices capable of input, output processing, and storage, a server, cluster, or your PC setup. Now, basically, your phone is a computer, your Wi-Fi is a network, and your cloud drive is an electronic record, meaning the IT Act governs your entire digital life. So what I meant to say is we are not limited to hacking. We are not limited to civil crimes. We are not limited to just what is going to happen. What we are going to talk about is that there are a lot of cases which have happened. Now, how many of you have heard about Shreya Singhal versus Union of India? Raise your
Yes, sir.
hands, please.
It struck down the Section 66A of IT Act, sir.
What was Section 66A of the IT Act? Anybody can tell me?
Sir, it criminalized the sending of any offensive content in electronic means, sir.
So,
So in
yeah,
this case,
no,
yes,
I
sir.
get that. So basically, Shreya Singhal is a very important case because earlier, if you would have said that why was there a holiday because Raj Thackeray passed away, you could have been jailed for it. That is particularly what happened in the case of Shreya Singhal. Shreya Singhal was an individual living in Maharashtra who posted that why should there be a holiday if a politician dies? And people found it to be very hurting that some politician has died and why has she commented upon something like this. So basically the core legislation question was that why and what information can go out, what is annoyance, what is inconvenience, what is danger, what is insult, injury, criminal intimidation and hatred or ill will under section 66A. Would it be really right to just arrest someone for saying why is there a holiday on the death of a politician? Is that freedom of speech? Is it following the constitutional values of a country? The answer is depends on who is in power, depends on how the law is being interpreted, and depends on what the reasonable restriction is gonna be. Now, this is not Shreya Singhal is not one isolated case in which somebody was arrested. Okay. There are multiple cases in which people were arrested for being upright, for being there to question somebody. There are a lot of arrests which have happened on tweets. There are a lot of arrests which are happening because somebody says you posted something which called religious outrage. Now, basically, there were the core issues were whether Section 66A violated the fundamental rights of freedom and expression under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India. This was one of the issues in Shreya Singhal. Another question was if it did, whether the restrictions could be saved under the reasonable restriction clause under Article 19(2) of the Constitution of India, and whether other related provisions such as Section 79 of the Information Technology Act and 69A of the Information Technology Act also required scrutiny for intermediary liability or blocking powers. The decision was the Supreme Court unanimously, there was no dissenting orders on this, struck down Section 66A, declaring it unconstitutional because it violated the right of free speech and expression under Article 19(1)(a). The court held that Section 66A did not satisfy the test laid down in Article 19(2). The language was overly vague and wide, lacking clear connection to recognize grounds for restrictions such as public order, security, decency, etc. The court also observed that the terms like grossly offensive, menacing, managing annoyance and convenience were indefinite, giving arbitrary powers to authorities and producing a chilling effect on free speech. The court upheld that the validity of Section 69A, that the government's power to block information, and Section 79, intermediary safe harbor, to extend that conditions are and safeguards apply on those also. Now, significance and legal principles in this judgment. Why I'm talking about this judgment in detail is because nowadays, when a Samir Raina is arrested or a FIR is filed, or when some other person is arrested for posting something on the internet, Section 66A does not exist there. That means we try to enhance the very freedom of speech which has been given to us by the very constitution which was written by our forefathers. But unfortunately, there have been some misuses of the same. Now, the significance is that the ruling is widely regarded as a watershed movement for digital free speech in India because it recognized that online realm is no less than domain of free expression than offline speech. If you can speak openly, freely in an open domain, why can't you speak on the internet? Second is it reinforced that the laws regarding digital speech must have precision, should not be vague or overboard statutes, and cannot pass constitutional muster. Now, basically, laws on digital acts are not a constitution in themselves. It does not give the power to authorities to come up all of a sudden and say कि भाई ये तो गलत है, तुम डिसाइड नहीं करो कि तुम्हारी फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच पे नहीं आता, हम तो तुम्हें अंदर करेंगे क्योंकि तुमने बाबा साहब ठाकरे को कुछ बोल दिया या फिर तुमने किसी के बारे में कुछ बोला जिसके कारण तुम्हें अरेस्ट कर लिया गया. Now, further, there is another guy known as Kunal Kamra, who has been speaking indefinitely about certain politicians in the country, but he's still not been arrested under Section 66A for the very reason because Section 66A was long back struck down by the very constitutional bench of this country, which stated that it was unconstitutional and did not have the powers to actually bewaffle the very freedom of speech that we live for. Now, on this day one, why is this question very important? When covering the offences under IT Act and the boundaries of lawful digital speech, this case is very essential. It demonstrates how technology, communication law, and constitutional law intersect. You can use it as a clear example of how statutory definitions plus digital conduct actually come out to be a very essential part of our digital journey. Now, those of you who have not read Shreya Singhal versus Union of India, I am giving down the citation. Please write it down. It is AIR 2015 SC 1523. Now, basically, we have talking about freedom of speech, but what about outraging the modesty of a woman by sharing something online? What happened in that? And what happened in KS Puttuswamy versus Union of India? Anybody knows about KS Puttuswamy versus Union of India?
Sir, right to privacy, landmark judgment, sir.
Shivani, seems like you've studied all of it beforehand.
No, sir, just a few landmark cases, sir. Because I'm very much interested in cyber law, sir. That's why.
Okay. So basically, KS Puttuswamy is basically the case which dealt by which somebody has also answered in the chat is about the Aadhaar card case. It is the 2017 judgment wherein does the Indian Constitution which talked about three basic issues: whether the Constitution guaranteed right to privacy, what is the scope of content of that right? Does it include informational privacy, bodily integrity, autonomy of choices? Does Aadhaar scheme and by implication the large scale biometric system pass the test of protection and constitutional validities? The nine judge bench in this said that right to privacy is a fundamental right under Article 21. And second, the court also overruled to the extent necessary the previous precedent in MP Sharma and Kharak Singh, which held that privacy was not guaranteed. Now, basically, the court also held that right to privacy is not absolute, and any intrusion must satisfy a triplet test, which is the triparty test is legality, legitimate aim, and proportionality. So I want you to write this down because this is very important. The legality, the legitimate aim, and the proportionality. Legality means there must be a law authorizing the intrusion. Legitimate aim means that the state must pursue a legitimate objective, which could be national security, which could be crime prevention, which could be welfare, and proportionality. That means the means adopted must be necessary and at least intrusive in achieving the aim. So basically, why this matters is because it also talks about that right to privacy is not absolute in nature. There could be certain exceptions to it. Now, those of you who want to read K.S. Puttuswamy, the 2017 judgment, I am going to say out the citation. The citation is AIR 2017 SC 4161. The other citation is 2017 10 SCC 1. Now I'm open for questions because I do not want to carry forward this more so that I don't bore you for the day one. We're going to talk about other things in day two. So please ask your questions one by one. Don't tell me there are no questions.
Yeah, so I want to ask a question. The question is, how do you conduct the investigation if your the phone or your computer has been hacked. You know there's an IP address, and you also probably know the device. But how would you go about conducting that investigation?
So
Thank you.
basically, you would have to go to a cyber expert for that. There are certain self-diagnostic tools that you can utilize for that investigation when your phone is being hacked. One of them being that you would be seeing that you are getting a lot of call drops. You would also see that a lot of the of the calls that you are making are not getting through. You would also see that a lot of the messages that you want to read are already seen. Second is there is a safeguard that you can use is that always use a VPN in your phone. When you use a VPN, it becomes bit difficult for somebody to intrude into your privacy. Next question, please.
Sir,
Sir,
am I
online
audible?
trainings come.
Yes, please.
Sorry, sir. Shall I ask question, sir? Shall I proceed?
Yeah, yeah. Please,
Ah,
please,
ah,
please.
sir. Sir. Sir, is online training, online but they collecting money. They won't fulfill their obligations, but giving proper training and supplying the proper books, software. This thing, it's come under cyber crimes.
It comes under the Consumer Protection Act at large, sir.
Uh-huh.
But some part of cybercrime could be attracted because they have taken the money on
Money
a
through online,
through online
online.
through a false
G from
pretext.
G, sir. G.
So certainly some aspect of it can come, sir. But practically speaking, it is a more valid case for a consumer forum rather than cybercrime.
Okay, sir. So we can't file a case against them and basing on the cyber this
Sir,
crime.
we can put it as an additional charge on them, but
Okay, sir.
the cybercrime part being the only part is not there because see there was a valid transaction.
Hmm.
You have willingly given that money to them.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes.
basically, the mens rea is not there of defrauding you. They might not have
Uh-huh.
provided you certain documents, but
Hmm.
that is not basically that is deficiency of service, not a cyber
No, no.
crime, sir.
If at all, Mensiria is that the willfully the giving the wrong this thing
Ah,
promises. In,
then cyber law can come into place.
ठीक है
If
sir.
they're
Thank you, sir.
if it is their modus operandi, sir, to do something
जी.
like that, then
Hmm.
cyber crimes will come into place. There is no doubt about it.
जी sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Sir, how can we investigate cyber crimes with regards to the jurisdiction matters?
Basically, cyber crimes have an open jurisdiction. Frankly speaking, there is no fixed jurisdiction for a cyber crime because it is happening in a space which is beyond us. So, for example, you are staying in Delhi and your account gets siphoned off and a lot of money goes out of it, the jurisdiction would come out to be Delhi. But if another complaint of that whole transaction is also formed in Mumbai, then that case would also come back to Delhi because the chain of transaction is forming like that. So there is no fixed territorial jurisdiction in cyber crimes.
Thank you, sir.
Mira, you can ask your question, please. Cybercrime, when
Sir?
cybercrime. Yeah, yes, please.
Yes, sir. What is the difference between cyber terrorism and digital arrest?
See, basically, cyber terrorism is a bigger term, okay? When I say cyber terrorism, not one individual is affected by it, many people are affected by it. Now, cyber terrorism could be if there are 500 cameras in a locality, and those phones basically belong to girls, and they have a habit of taking those phones into the washrooms and they're talking on those phones or they're basically listening to music, and somebody categorically terrorizes them by recording videos of them digitally into the cyber world by opening those cameras. That is cyber terrorism. Digital arrest basically is a term which is newly come in. For example, Manjari, you come up to me and you give me a video call in a police uniform and say ki Mr. Govind Bali, you are under arrest because you harassed someone. Now basically no FIR exists. Nothing exists of that sort, but you have given me a threat in my mind that I have done something very wrong. Now, in influence of that threat, you take my credit card details from me and make me do certain transactions. That becomes digital address.
Okay, sir. Thanks.
Any other questions? There was a question by Sir, when a cyber attack originates from one country but the target systems in a so basically cyber attacks generally happen on a national level. तो उसके अंदर हम लोग इन्वेस्टिगेशंस ऑन करके छोड़ देते हैं पर उसका कोई कंक्लूसिव प्रूफ निकलता नहीं है आज की डेट में बिकॉज इंडिया साइबर सिक्योरिटी backdrop is not very great as of now, but we're trying to come up with a national cyber response team. So when that cyber response team comes in, then things might happen. There are a lot of people in India who are running call centers and they are basically trying to defraud a lot of people in USA, old people. They're saying that your credit card bill is pending. You have to do give us this OTP, else you will be under arrest. So बहुत चीजें हो रही हैं. एंड उसके अंदर भी कई केसेस के अंदर इंडिया के अंदर अगर फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिया इज द ओरिजिनेटिंग स्टेट एंड somebody from USA files a complaint in India digitally, that operations will take place in India. If similar thing happens that we go to get to know the actual place. So basically scammers का पता लग जाता है अगर पता लग जाता है तो उनकी स्टेट में पता लगेगा. Yes, the scammers are endless. Certainly, yes, Pritish, there are a lot of people like Kit Boga help them expose them. That is certainly true. Pinoy, if a bank accesses the civil report of a customer without concern, comes into the IT out now. So basically, civil report के अंदर basically अगर कोई तुम्हारी मर्जी के बिना उसको access कर रहा है, it's a violation of your privacy, and it is also a violation under the DPDP Act, that is the Data Protection Act. So basically, उसके अंदर it's a cyber crime, and you can basically charge them for violation of your privacy. Any other questions?
Can I ask another question?
Okay.
Yeah, please, please.
Okay.
Shall I proceed, sir?
No, Shivani, after this, please.
Okay,
Let
sir.
Bright ask first. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So I wanted to ask about the digital rights. If somebody shares my pictures online, which I will have shared on my platform,
Mm-hmm.
but he picks them from my platform and
Mm-hmm.
reshares them without my consent.
Mm-hmm.
Does it relate to the digital rights? Is that digital rights?
Yes, that is basically
The
taking away
infringement.
your personal rights. It is impersonation also, because if the use is to tell people that it is because of you, you are the one who's using that particular account, then it is an identity theft case. Other than that, using somebody's pictures without their permission itself is a crime. Shivani, you can ask now.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you explain to us how actually zero-click attacks work and exploit the data of the person who clicks?
We will be talking about it tomorrow because that is a very detailed topic and it is part of tomorrow's syllabus. So
Okay.
remind me tomorrow, I will give you an answer to that because it's a big topic and I do not want to cover it in a hurry.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir.
So
Thank you.
basically, multi-click attacks में क्या होता है? What happens is when you click that attack, multiple links open all of a sudden. When those multiple links open, it becomes a big problem. Now when you open those clicks again and again, again and again, उसके अंदर तुम्हारा system hack हो जाता है, hang हो जाता है basically. Now all of you who are first generation lawyers have written a book So basically, the book is called The Legal War Room Lessons. They do not teach in law school. I've shared the link in the chat box. So all of you, I request that you should read it once because it is basically dealing with how a first generation lawyer can set up their own practice and what are the legal mitigations that you need to talk about and how to establish a practice. How many of you are in final year here? Can you raise your hands? Are you all studying basically cyber law as of now, or you've already studied it? Or is it not even a part of your syllabus right now? Okay. So I see around two people in the final year. So basically, cyber law as a subject is very important and it's going to improve day by day. Now, once it improves, things are going to work better for us. But cyber law as a profession needs a lot of studies. And there are a lot of cyber law cases coming up which are being used in the criminal court of law itself. So, so basically, once you start reading them, you need to read a lot about them. There are a lot of books now available on cyber law, and do not read only Indian authors on cyber law. Cyber law is a global subject, and you should. There is known as Indian Forensic Science University. They offer a course in phone forensics and cyber forensics. So you should go for that course also, so that you can learn about cyber forensics at large. Are there any questions more? I guess there are no more questions. So, so we will be ending the session for today. I'll see you tomorrow with new topics in line, and we will go forward with that. I hope you like the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.